of the day. Cloud9 and Immortals going head-to-head here. Should be a very entertaining one. Cloud9, of course, dropping that first game of the Lock-In tournament, much to the surprise of viewers everywhere, and then responding by going deathless on day number 2. So we'll see what form they show up in here on this one.
I mean, they absolutely crushed FlyQuest yesterday. It was just one outer tower that stood between them and a perfect game against FlyQuest yesterday, so that was pretty frightening to be sure. I'm going to be really interested in Fudge versus Revenge. We saw the analyst desk already talking about that. Fudge obviously having very strong words for a lot of the LCS players. He was kind of joking around, but still extremely confident coming into the LCS that he would be able to perform. Revenge has brought out back-to-back Gragas games. I want to see if he's going to go straight back to that again, or if he would look towards something like the Renekton. I think with Taliyah already being locked in, taking away the Renekton makes a lot of sense. That combo has been so popular in the Lock-In tournament thus far. Point and click stun from the Crocodile, Taliyah flings you up, and you can pretty much get one shot off that.
Yeah, very scary stuff in some of these combinations, but the lock-in for the first round of picks here from Immortals will be the Kai'Sa that we've seen so much popularity from so far, as well as the Kindred here for Potluck.
A little bit surprising to see the Kindred this early on. I guess that they're obviously aware of the Renekton, right? He's hovering it. He knows that that's a good combo, so they must have some sort of answer in store for it. Perhaps they think that Kindred plus whatever top laner they're considering would be able to 2v2 comfortably if the Crocodile does get locked in. Jungle was obviously already picked, so we may have parity here if they want to go towards their support pick for Joey, who was banned out very heavily yesterday and still did have, you know, a really strong game on that Nautilus, I believe. So will be interesting. I already like the Alistar pick though. Alistar I always find very frustrating to play against as a Kindred, simply because you can get headbutt out of the ultimate. Likewise, Gragas also works well with Kindred for the same reason. You can knock your opponents out of that ultimate, right? So you can use that to drop the ultimate early on in the team fight before someone gets burst down. You save the cask for that point, you ult them out, then you burst them down outside of that Lamb's Respite. So this is going to be the third straight game of Gragas top, very likely for Revenge. Yes, it could go to support. It's actually been played globally in the support role, you know, quite a bit. But I am expecting it to go to Revenge since he's already played it twice and looked pretty solid on it.
And I like what we're seeing out of Immortals here, drafting a jungler that works so well with the pick that Revenge is comfortable on. When you have somebody in the top lane that you're looking to just sort of find your groove with, having them on a comfort pick can go a long way, and picking things that synergize with it and really put it into that spotlight and make it shine. I'm already enjoying the synergy I'm seeing here. Couple that with an S-tier 80 carry pick right now like the Kai'Sa is, and Immortals draft is looking solid so far. Let's see how the bans are going to turn out here in the second half. Gangplank banned away from Fudge, Syndra banned out, Yone banned out.
Yeah, very interesting. So banning out the GP, that can be a pretty tough matchup for Gragas, you know, just getting poked away at. Can't really threaten the GP very heavily, you know, as far as any sort of all-ins are concerned. I'm going to be interested to see what Fudge wants to go towards. Yone has been banned, but we still have things like Galio, so if they want to pick, you know, a carry-style top laner, send the Galio mid lane, you can play towards Fudge in a similar way to what they did against FlyQuest, you know, where we did have Licorice getting counterpick, and he grabbed Fiora, he was doing well in the 1v1, but Perks was constantly up there in that top lane helping Fudge out. There are opportunities to really snowball the game through that kind of strategy.
Orianna, the first pick of the second half of the draft here for Immortals, grabbing something solid there in the mid lane, recognizing they've got to blind something here, and they want to leave that support pick open for the very last pick there. Puts Joey on something that they know he can try to win the 2v2 with. Let's see how C9 is going to respond.
And it also still does mean that there's the possibility of flex, right? Which is doubly important here, because now Fudge has to show the entire draft, so Fudge is going to have to show his pick. If Revenge gets some matchup where he just feels like it's unplayable for some reason, as Gragas, they could swap that around, put that down into support, and then actually change for a counter pick, which might actually be theoretically what we could get. You know, the hover on the Fiora, if you wanted to counter pick the Aatrox, would be incredible. It's a very strong matchup there, but it does seem like Joey is going to be going for a pick of his own with the hovers he has been flashing through, and we'll get to see exactly what he wants to go towards. Down in that bottom lane. No, okay, so it will be a flex.
Nope.
So they are going to flex the Gragas down to bot. Revenge, Jace, like everyone talks about Revenge being this great solo queue player. Here's a little secret. Pretty much every single high elo top laner plays a ton of Jace, right? That is pretty much what their bread and butter is going to be. All of these guys love playing that champion. Revenge, if you ever watch the stream, he plays a tremendous amount of Jace. And, you know, having that Jace into the Aatrox, this is definitely a matchup that you can take advantage of. If you get ahead, it can be very difficult for that Aatrox to be able to kind of safely wave clear under his tower. So it will be interesting to see if he can get ahead. That being said, you do have to deal with the Taliyah. If you're pushing heavily, you can get walled off by the Taliyah ultimate, and you can get all-in, of course, by the Aatrox plus that Taliyah combo. So going to be pretty interesting, you know, because Jace is one of those champions that I do feel like has to have a pretty solid laning phase to really contribute a lot later on.
Oh, I 100% agree. It is a win lane, win game type of champion. That sort of philosophy has always been successful in a solo queue environment, like what you've been talking about with high elo players. Playing Jace, playing Riven, playing Camille, playing these things you can slam your lane with, turn 1 kill into 5 kills, and just start running away with split pressure. But competitive play is something very different. We all know that here in North America, Jace has a little bit of a, how do I say this politely, reputation for not always hitting the bar that he would like to hit. So
He's trying his best out there.
He is trying his best, but sometimes his best isn't good enough. Poor old
A lot of
Jace.
participation ribbons.
We'll see if Revenge can step up here, because I actually like the fact that he's taken on the Jace. He's embracing that. He knows that he's going to have to butt heads with the NA Jace meme, but it also means that if he pops off, hey, he gets to pop off that much harder. You know people are going to be impressed if you're able to win with the Jace in North America. So I'm excited to see him really take this Chad 1v1 top laner up there and see what he can do with it. But of course, when you're playing a champion like that, Azale, it's not just about you. Your jungler has to make sure that he's properly warding, shadowing, protecting you, all of those things. Otherwise, it's so easy for the enemy jungler to just shut it all down.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the things I like to talk about the most, and it's one of the things that can sometimes be overlooked. You know, sometimes when top laners are asking for help from the jungler, it's not about, like, come camp me, gank me 24/7. It's just get deep wards, because when you're playing a champion like Jace, the way that you dominate lanes is by pushing and harassing your opponent as they're trying to CS under turret. Being able to shove up to the tower and threaten turret plates and be able to, you know, have that safety to do that. And oftentimes, you know, that is more than just a one-man job. You can drop your trinket in the river, you could put your pink in the tri-brush, but then maybe you need some deep wards over by their blue buff or something like that to give you that additional safety to know that you're not just going to get ganked. And I think that's even more important against a champion like Taliyah coming out of the jungle, because by the time your river ward sees Taliyah flying on in on a rock wall, you can't react to that. You've got to have pre-warning that she is in that quadrant up around top lane so that you know how to play around it.
Now, the one bit of a saving grace there is the fact that he's not up against a point-and-click stun champion, something like the Renekton that we've talked so much about pairing so well with the Taliyah. Having to play against something like an Aatrox, not nearly as easy for Aatrox to set up the seismic shove from Taliyah there. So maybe even if the protection isn't available, he'll still be able to have a good lane, but you know that he wants to have that sort of assistance up there. Taking a look at everything on the map here as we're starting out. It is 2 teleports to 1 teleport, that favoring Immortals for those late game rotations. Perks has opted to go with the heal in the mid lane on the Zoe, has Electrocute there as well. Topside Fleet Footwork for Fudge's Aatrox, just going for a little bit more sustain here with his rune in this lane. Oftentimes we see Aatrox go for Conqueror, but when you're up against Jace, you're not going to be able to reliably get that going and have those extended fights that you want to have. You can disengage rather easily, so rune choices all making sense here.
You know, I've got to say, though, I am actually really surprised by the heal on Perks. You know, generally speaking, I feel like there's a bit of rock, paper, scissors with your summoner choices in mid lane. And if someone goes defensive, then like out-greeting them is often the better choice, right? So, you know, when his opponent is going TP, you either want to match the TP generally with your own, or you want to go for the aggressive option to try to punish the TP. Heal can't really do either of those. It may be useful, you know, if he gets ganked or something like that, but Orianna generally isn't a champion with a tremendous amount of kill pressure, so you don't expect him to actually need to have that heal defensively to survive the lane. And if you don't need it defensively to survive the lane, then, you know, why not be able to match TPs to better control the waves or go Ignite to try to actually threaten a kill on this player who isn't playing with a defensive summoner? So pretty surprised by that choice from Perks.
We'll see how it fans out for him if he's able to find any clutch moments, keep anybody alive with it, or if it just does ring true that he could have been better served by something else. But right now, let's take a look at where the junglers are pathing, where they're going to end up. You can see a full bottom side clear coming out from Potluck here as Blabber started on his blue and then immediately went down to the red side, just starting to clear out that buff and that Krug Camp. I was trying to remember the name of it there for a second. And let's also remember, for people out there who have forgotten or who didn't know, remember that when the Scuttle Crabs spawn, it's sort of just a coin flip, whichever one it spawns at. You're going to see Potluck closer to the top one, so he's hoping that that Kindred mark spawns on this top river crab.
Definitely is. And one thing you'll see sometimes the experienced Kindred players will do is, even if it spawns opposite side of the map, if you have full control on the side of the map that your Scuttle is on, you can just delay killing it and then take it later. Because if you do actually delay it, the mark will be forced to spawn on that Scuttle on your side. So there is always that option. And Sanity, you're going to have to be a little bit careful here, as we obviously know that Blabber is in that brush. And if he gets slept, sleep into that seismic shove can be very dangerous, but Blabber backing it off, and Potluck just continues to farm away here. It's also interesting to see Phase Rush over on Blabber. I do think that that is going to be very, very useful if he ever actually runs into the Kindred. Kindred does rely pretty heavily on the E slow to actually be able to have any opportunity to try to chase down and fight against Dalia. Being able to proc that Phase Rush means that you can either chase after Kindred, or if you face check Kindred, you can proc Phase Rush and easily retreat from that fight.
So what we just saw there, too, was Blabber showing himself walking through mid lane as he uses Smite on the top side Scuttle Crab. He sees that the bottom side crab is the one that has the mark on it, so he doesn't care about giving away information to opponents. He just wants to get to that crab as quickly as possible. And as soon as Blabber walks into vision in mid lane, you can see Potluck stop his pathing towards bottom side river and immediately start to channel a recall because he recognizes the bottom lane is also pushed in. Vulcan is roaming around. There's no way Potluck will have priority from his laners in that bottom side river. So really good stuff there from Cloud9, recognizing they can just hard force this, walk through mid, who cares, and guarantee that they keep that Kindred without a mark here off of the first couple of crabs.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that really is about the bot lane. You know, you mentioned it, and Vulcan came up pretty early, even like largely before he had even moved through mid lane. Vulcan was up there checking, making sure that Potluck hadn't gone straight to that crab, because then if he had, he could actually try to contest it. But they're looking for an all-in here on the bot side.
2v2, Keith in some trouble, a lot of damage coming down there from the Infernum. Keith running away, but the flash follow from Sven says, see you later, buddy. First blood over to Cloud9.
Cloud9 bot lane coming into the lock-in tournament hot. They got a 2v2 kill yesterday as well, I do believe, and now another one here, taking down Keith, getting first blood over onto Sven, and Revenge potentially in some trouble here too.
Revenge trying to escape the Aatrox down to 250 HP, nearly out of mana. Time to go back to base and teleport back. He is not in any condition to continue laning here. Nice moves from Fudge early on.
Yeah, that was actually really close to him getting snapped back with the chain. So let's watch this one more time. You know, yesterday, Vulcan was able to get this catch off of someone stepping too forward to trade. This time, it's actually Sven setting it up with the root. So once Keith is rooted there, it's not even like he can flash the combo. So there's no real way for him to react to the headbutt pulverize coming in from Alistar. So just really nice coordination, really nice timing. Perks in some trouble. Heal maybe forced.
Perks?
Nope.
Okay, well, at least he has the heal to keep himself alive if he got any bit lower, but Insanity nearly able to take him out of the picture here in the mid lane, utilizing the shockwave as he hits level 6. You can see Revenge up here, only still level 5 against Fudge, but considering he's got help showing up, that ought to be enough. Fudge getting away, though, using the flash, and with Blabber nearby, they won't be able to chase him down.
Nicely done, though. They do force out that flash, and the fact that he was 6 there was actually pretty key, the additional speed, but oh, he spotted him.
Oh, Fudge! He stays too long, and Revenge comes in and gets the kill. But the fight isn't over just yet. Immortals trying to find a little bit more here. Vulcan has roamed towards the top river too, but Cloud9 disengages in time. Right when it looked like Fudge had managed to get away, Revenge finds the kill.
Those lazy recalls, man, they'll get you every once in a while. You can really regret not backing it up a bit more. Potluck gonna be forced to flash, but he's probably dead. Oh.
Potluck flashing over the red wall, trying to get himself away, but Blabber throws another rock, and Potluck is down.
It's too bad because I don't think he realized that Alistar was still in the river. Had he known that, he could have actually probably just gone out to the right after flashing over the wall. I think he could have ran past the Raptor Pit towards his mid-tier 2 and actually escaped, but he didn't have information on where Vulcan was, so felt like he needed to run up and does get chased down. So Cloud9 getting that kill back on the top side. Immortals wanted to make sure that Potluck was getting control of some of those Scuttle Crabs, so they do get that for him, but costs his life.
Well, at least a little bit of a bounce back there for Cloud9 makes up for Fudge's very avoidable death in that top lane river brush. So, bit of a silly death here for both teams now, but Cloud9 still commands a small gold lead. Let's take another look at how this went down with Potluck going after the Scuttle Crab and then paying the price.
Yep, he did get that mark. Unfortunately, he didn't actually flash the seismic sub. So even though he did have the Dance of Arrows to hop over the wall and then was able to flash over into that red pit, he had taken so much damage that Blabber was confident he could actually chase him down. You know, if he had just flashed that initial seismic shove, I'm not sure if Blabber would have actually even committed his flash because that would have been full HP. But now, going on the bot side,
the 2v2 just don't stop as Keith's health bar goes pop. Sven gets a second one, and Immortals are falling apart in the bottom lane.
They are just getting crushed. Sven and Vulcan finding another opportunity here for the all-in on that bottom side. Keith getting put very far behind on the Kai'Sa. And this Kai'Sa Gragas lane just not being able to match up against Sven and Vulcan on the Alistar. Really just finding these engages constantly on them. That looked like a two-man headbutt pulverize. It did look like he caught them both. We'll have to check again in that replay, but really, really well done by this Cloud9 bot lane. And Immortal's going to try to get something back on this top side. You can see Joey immediately was heading up towards the Rift Herald, and he's going to try to help Potluck secure this because they have the push from Revenge. That is kind of their winning lane right now because Revenge got the kill on the lazy recall from Fudge, and he is up a bit in farm. They are going to try to look to play through top, but this means Keith doesn't really even get to play the game. Like, look where Keith is right now. He's back by his tier 2 tower, cannot even walk up because he knows Talia just killed Dragon. Zoe is missing from mid lane. Alistar could be behind him. There's no way he can even move up to farm. So tough stuff here for Keith, but let's get another look at this. They fake the recall and then just move up. So they just weren't expecting. I think they thought that they were already out of there. Then Hex Flash catches both of them there with that pulverize, knocking him up. Easy kill for Sven and Vulcan. Just really clever stuff. Just the fake on the base really did, I think, give them that kind of false sense of security.
And the big thing for me is, this is the second time this has happened now. Normally, if a team makes an error in a 2v2, dies without enemy jungler even showing up, you just see them start to play very defensively. They don't want to end up bleeding out any more gold, and it won't happen again. But before 9 minutes to grab 2 of those kills just like that in the 2v2, not a good sign for Keith and Joey. Sven and Vulcan know exactly what they're doing. They know these power thresholds. Now up in the top lane, let's see what Blabber can do. Looking to help Fudge out here a little bit. Revenge running away, but here comes the Weaver's wall. Revenge again tries to disengage, but a well-placed wall says no, sir. And Cloud9 finds their 4th kill of the game.
Yeah, Revenge wasn't even that far up, but without your flash, if the Weaver's wall gets behind you, there is no way out. So a great gank there from Blabber. Potluck moving up towards that top side, but not in the right place at the right time, not really able to try to defend his top laner. He will be able to pick up a lot of these little Krugs, which is where most of that gold is these days, and maybe soak some of the experience at the turret, but unfortunate for Immortals because that really was kind of their one major advantage. That was where they were winning on the map. Now gold is actually equalized and he's down in experience just off that one gank because we all know in top lane it's the second kill often that matters more than the first because that is the one where generally people don't have teleport available.
And let's go back to what you were talking about in Champion Select, saying Jace is a champion that you need to win lane from. He has to go into the midpoint of the game from a position of power. He needs to be a 1v1 threat. He needs to be a split push threat. Well, that gank just alleviated the chances of that happening in a convincing and timely manner. So really good stuff from Blabber here. If you're a Cloud9 fan, you're happy to see it. If you're an Immortals fan, this is pretty concerning because now neither side lane is in a really fantastic spot here so far. You do have about a 1-wave advantage for Insanity in terms of farm here in the mid lane over Perks, but both mid laners still sitting at 0-0 and 0. Bottom lane, bottom side River here getting into a little bit of a fight as the supports roam around with their junglers, and the AD carries are left to their own devices here in bottom. But you know what, Azael? I think Sven is perfectly comfortable in a 1v1 here in the bottom lane based on how his encounters with Keith have been going so far.
I mean, Keith is so far behind, and he is going for what is, pretty standard build here. He's grabbing the Dirk, and then he's likely going to build towards, his mythic item after that, then go back for the Collector. That seems to be the most common Revenge. Really nice trade here. Sidestep on the Q3. He might go for this.
Super good. Revenge stepping away from the damage. Very solid positioning there. Chases Fudge out. And I want to talk here real quick, too. I love so many heart emojis. I can't even hold them all. His itemization against the Aatrox. Look at that, Azael. Before you even have the full lethality item completed, going for the Executioner's Calling for the Grievous Wounds. We heard Primal talking about this yesterday on the desk, saying he wants to see more Grievous Wounds from players, and I agree 100%, especially against an opponent like an Aatrox that you know is going Gore Drinker. He always builds this item. He has a ton of healing built into his kit as well. He's got Fleet Footwork. Honestly, if you didn't build Executioners, I would be incredibly concerned. I love seeing it this early. I think it's great to negate one of Aatrox's strongest points, particularly with this build. And I'm glad that we're seeing players adapt to just how necessary Grievous Wounds is in the current state of League of Legends.
That's Revenge's pre-med brain in action right there,
Yeah, that's what you go to med school for, so you can build Grievous Wounds.
Down on the bottom side, did Keith again? No, barely got away. That was a nice attempt again. Using the root there from Aphelios to set up for the fling from Blabber. It did cost them Blabber's flash, but the trade of flashes on Keith makes it worthwhile. Plus, Keith is already getting punished so heavily. We kind of got interrupted by that top lane trade, but Keith's mythic item is going to come in so late into the game. He just now has his Noon Quiver. But as we can see, Sven is working on his second item, and because Keith is going for the serrated Dirk first, to be able to try to get that upgrade earlier when he completes his mythic item, it's going to be probably like 20 minutes before he gets his first completed item, which means Kai'Sa is just all but useless until very late in the game.
Yeah, she's having a bit of a bad time right about now. Perkz delivering the Paddle Star onto Insanity for half his health in the mid lane. Revenge stuck just sort of farming up here in the top side. Does still have about a 3-wave lead over his opponent. So let me ask you this, Azael. You said he needed to win the lane. You said he needed to be in a good spot coming into the mid game. Is 1-1 with a 20 CS lead good enough to justify picking the Jace?
I think it's enough, especially given the fact that he actually absorbed a decent amount of pressure, from his opponents up there. I do think that Jace, scales fairly well, especially because he's going for the tier build. He's probably going to be going into a fairly standard lethality style build, Eclipse, grab the Manamune, just going more lethality. So you can kind of poke and scale alongside that. I do think it is worthwhile. Being up this much farm is a very good result. That being said, the rest of the map, especially bot lane, has been such a disaster that I'm not sure that there's any pick that would really feel good at this point in the game, because they're obviously still very, very far behind. I mean, they've lost both the dragons. Bot lane's getting crushed. They lost their tower down there. Sometimes that's just the name of the game, right? It is a team game, and your 1v1 isn't the only thing that's going to decide it.
Stopwatch available here for Blabber. That's one to keep your eyes on here in the next fight when it breaks out. Gale Force also done for both the Kindred and Aphelios. Kai'Sa's still working on that. As you already brought up, it will be a minute before Kai'Sa is ready to go here with that first mythic completion. Good poke there onto Joey as Perkz eats some damage back from Revenge. And Immortals have brought the whole squad here in mid lane to take down a turret and bring that gold lead just a little bit closer. It was slipping away almost up to 4,000. Brought it back down near 3 with that turret take.
I like that move, right? They used the Rift Herald that they had gotten earlier on that mid lane turret, so they want to actually cash out, take down that tower, move Revenge around the map. He is their strong player right now. He has the Eclipse completed. He has the Executioners, so he's pretty ready to go for a lot of these skirmishes. And if he can get shove and then rotate somewhere else, land a Shock Blast, push them back a little bit, that can try to buy some space, buy some time for these other players on his team to really scale up. Potluck has farmed pretty well. He is behind Blabber, but he has his Gale Force. Insanity obviously wants to scale up. He's going for this tier plus Ludens, pretty standard stuff on the Orianna. But it's Keith that really does need time to free farm, and it's kind of going to be Revenge's job to try to buy him that.
Perkz trying to move up into the front lines, get some poke down, but now you got your flank coming in from Joey, but it's a flank straight to the grave. You cannot put yourself in a spot like that against Talia, man. You are going to get seismic shoved all the way into a body bag.
Yeah, not like that, Joey. He was just trying to kind of wander through. Did look for, I think that was perhaps the flash body slam, but just wasn't really able to connect. And I mean, we were trying to walk through an Alistar. It's ambitious to say the least to think that the Alistar isn't going to land some sort of CC on you. It feels pretty much guaranteed. And with Talia there, as you say, if one CC lands, you're going to get hit by the seismic shove. So Joey giving up his life alongside his flash, and that's a lot of where their playmaking is right now. He's basically their only engage, so it's more costly than most of the flashes on his team would be because they're so reliant on him making something happen.
So difficult for Immortals to decide when they actually want to go in. You can see Revenge getting an aggressive trade here onto Fudge. Misses the Shock Blast at the very end that would have really put him in a bad spot. But Revenge is playing this matchup very well. His opponent does have the Gore Drinker ready to go. And now we've got a replay to show you exactly what happened to poor Joey.
Yeah, so he was looking for a bit of a flank here, but they kind of got spotted out, I think, by that blue ward. And then he's trying to actually go through, and it looked like he went for the body slam flash. But because of the hitbox on that body slam, I believe what happened is when he tried to flash over the Alistar, the cow was a little bit too thick. So I think he clipped him with the hitbox there.
Too thick.
Some juicy beef. He couldn't get past him. and I think that it looked like the body slam actually maybe hit Vulcan. So it didn't land on his intended target, and everything kind of just went bad from there.
That ain't no McDonald's burger, man. That's some steak.
It's a juicy steak.
Right up there. That's good eating there for Cloud9 as they're looking to find themselves even more. Sven picks up another one, man. This Aphelios 3 kills and 186 farm at 18 minutes and 45 seconds. Sven is just in a spot to carry this whole game home.
He really is. He is ridiculously far ahead. Blabber is ridiculously strong. You know, even though Fudge is again behind, this has kind of been the trend in all his games thus far in the LCS. It's not so far behind that it really feels like it matters, especially when you have a really fed jungler with that semi-global in Talia. It makes it hard for Revenge to really push and kind of try to crush Fudge and make that a game-winning difference. You can see already, they know that Blabber is moving down here, so Revenge has to peel back, has to really play with respect to this Talia.
Blabber continuing to just pressure forward here. Goes for the seismic shove, but doesn't read it correctly, so takes a lot of damage from Revenge. If Revenge would have stepped onto that shove, he could have been in a bad spot, but now he's still in a bad spot. There's your damage. Moonlight Vigil. Look at what Sven is doing here in this game. He is in his element, Azale.
Yeah, he is so strong, and he knows it. He can just Gale Force in. He follows the flash with a flash, lands the ultimate, has just enough damage to finish off Revenge there. Sven running over this game. Vulcan really got him fed down in that bottom lane. This duo crushing through at this point. And, I mean, checking in on Keith, I thought it would be at least 20 minutes before he has his Mythic. Maybe he has it now on base, but we're coming up on Soul Point here in 4 minutes for Cloud9. Look at the itemization difference between these two marksmen. Yes, I think Keith will probably have his item now, and he does have the Gale Force.
Just completed.
Sven is going to have his third item very likely before Keith has his second, right? And you have to fight at this next dragon, or you're just giving up a free Infernal Soul. So it feels like the game is all but wrapped up, to be honest with you. Cloud9 are just in such an incredibly powerful position. It's going to depend on Joey getting some sort of a miracle engage, right? The fight must begin with Sven or Perks or Blabber, a major kill dying instantly. And honestly, it probably has to be Sven and no one else, because even if you kill Perks, Sven will probably just carry the fight if you spend all your cooldowns to kill the mid laner. So very limited options. And when you're playing on the other side of that, and you know that the only way you lose is if you get one shot at the start of the fight, guess what you do? You stand back and you wait till the Zoe pokes him a little bit.
Yep. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news based on that analysis, so I'll give you the vegetables first. They're down 6,000 gold, and what you just stated is practically impossible. The good news, it's just practically impossible, not completely, and Joey does have Flash. So if there is some sort of a snowball's chance that this could happen, Joey does have the tools he needs to be able to do it. Now, the important thing is that those tools stay available until that Drake fight becomes relevant. If Joey loses his flash, if he gets caught out and has to flash away to live sometime here in the next 3 minutes, man, that just spells disaster for Immortals. Because I think without the flash, it is completely impossible to get that engage on Sven based on how he's been playing, how good his positioning's been this game.
And how good at Cloud9 is at moving their vision around the map, right? Pretty much anywhere they want to play, they get a lot of wards. Right now, they have all their wards in the Baron quadrant because the Dragon isn't up. There's not really any way to approach the areas that they're looking to fight without walking through wards. And it's also complicated by the fact that it feels like in current season, support spends so much time just kind of off on their own, trying to give solo experience to their carries. And as a result, Joey is level 8, and Sven is 13, Perks is 14, and probably going to watch Revenge die here.
Oh, we got a couple of different plays in a couple of different places. Nice pickup onto Blabber as Revenge now stuck in the 1v2 should drop here. They'll give that one over to Fudge. So 1-for-1 across the map. Cloud9 losing their jungler for the first time. That should be some shutdown gold over to Immortals. Make them feel a little bit better about the current state of the game. Perks trying to play pretty aggro here, but now Potluck's able to catch him out, put some good damage into him. Continuing to jump forward here with a dance of arrows. Sven providing the cover on that one, making sure Potluck doesn't want to go anywhere closer.
Yeah, doing about 80% of his health in 2 autos. That's pretty good cover, Flowers. That's what I like to see. But they do get the shutdown. That is nice. So it is a trade of kills. More gold going towards the way of Immortals. But the Dragon is going to be up here in 140. Thankfully for them, it didn't cost them the flash off Joey that you were talking about. Revenge, again, just doesn't really have the proper warding coverage, but it's tough because if you're supposed to be the guy who's making things happen on the map, you're the only one who's strong, so you feel some pressure to actually push out these waves and try to make something happen. But because they don't have any presence on the map, they have no warding, everywhere you go is going to be dangerous. It's so easy for that to happen, but if you just accept it and sit back at your 2-2 tower, you've already lost the game.
70 seconds to go here now until that ever so important Drake Soul spawns. It is a 6,000 gold lead. It's Joey getting over the wall with the flash. It's done. There's no way they have any sort of initiation potential against Cloud9 for this Drake fight now. Potluck also being forced to use the Lamb's Respite right here. Vulcan's chasing after him. The Drowsy comes through. Here comes the Cow. A little bit more damage will not be enough thanks to the heal given to him from Keith and his summoner spell there. So at least he's not down. Potluck's still in the game, but without the Kindred ulti, without the flash from the Gragas, this Dragon fight is nigh on impossible here for Immortals, as they'll have to walk into that vision you were talking about, that lack of vision, I should say, and any brush could be the death brush that Cloud9 set up around.
Exactly, and Cloud9 is setting up that vision now. They've also lost the tier 2 bottom lane, so they don't even really have a good staging ground. You have to be face-checking through this Talia and potentially the Zoe, who's going to be in the fog there. This is really, really scary for them. They see that Zoe's around, and I'm not sure how they're planning on trying to take this fight, how they're planning on approaching, but I think at this point, they basically just made the call. This is our do or die moment. We must challenge for Soul, and I've got to say I agree with them.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way you win this once they get Soul, when they have a composition like Talia and Zoe. It's just not going to happen, and now the Soul's already been secured. Perk's trying to get away, but he will not do so. Keith getting his first kill of the game here, taking down Perks. Blabber in the stasis, staying alive. Immortals still looking to find something else here. They got a 5v4, but some health bars are low. Vulcan and Joey both under half. Immortals will win the fight. They got one enemy player down, but unfortunately for them, they lost that Infernal Drake. That's 4 in a row. That is Soul for Cloud9.
I feel like Immortals just need to YOLO the Baron. That's your only hope in the game. Like it's probably already doomed, and this probably won't work, but you got to do something. You have a tiny advantage right now because Perks is already dead. But as soon as he respawns, it's Soul. It's a 7,000 gold lead. It's all of that you're dealing with. So this is their last chance, really. They've got to all in on the Baron, try to get something done before Perks is here. We'll see if they can make it happen.
Vulcan's already stopping him. Nice initiation coming out there from the Cow. Joey getting away in the stasis. Damage coming over the walls. Ben is unstoppable. He's killing them all. Double kill. Over to the AD carry from Cloud9, and the rest of the squad's going to clean up everybody. Blabber grabbing a double of his own. Make it a triple for the Blabberfish in the jungle. The ace for Cloud9. Put the TY for leash in the all chat. And look at what they've got themselves. Azale, 10,500 gold lead, 11 kill advantage. Drake sold a nothing, and everybody's wearing purple.
This is the Cloud9 fans were hoping for from their team when they got Perks, but it wasn't Perks this game. It's Blabber, it's Sven crushing through this game. Sven and Vulcan back-to-back games have decimated the opposing bottom lanes, and it has been so incredible to see how well they are able to extend these advantages. When you look at Sven and see how far ahead he is of Keith, it is just insane in this game.
Oh, Kindred using the Lamb's Respite in time there right as she took a nap. Would have been a much longer nap with a black and white screen if that ability did not get activated. So Perks quickly and effectively removing one of Immortals' greatest team fighting tools. And now he and Vulcan looking for a potential collapse onto Keith. But Keith knows this is coming, gets himself back. 2 inhibitor turrets already cracked immediately after the Baron was secured. And this just means the game is in very dire straits for Immortals. 2 of those inhibitors now vulnerable. They can force a fight on either one of them if they want, then just wait for the super minions to roll in and take down the third. Cloud9 has nothing but options here.
Yeah, Cloud9 can pretty much do whatever they want. You know, you just push up all these Baron minions. They're going for a pick, though. Nicely done, deleting Blabber.
The second time now, Immortals has managed to catch Blabber in a bad position and blow him up before he's able to get his team to get in there to help him or use his own stasis to stay alive. Now Cloud9 will go pushing towards that last remaining inhibitor turret. There you go, taking it down. More damage coming out now as Insanity's in a bad spot. Using the stasis, staying alive. Potluck jumping away. Remember, there's no Lamb's Respite. 2 members of Immortals down to just barely any HP, having to go back to the fountain. Despite the fact that Cloud9 is 4v5 on this map, their gold lead is 12,000. So even with a player dead, they still have more active gold in combat power out on the map in a 4v5.
Exactly, and I like that Immortals are taking their swings, though. They're not just laying down and dying. They are looking for these engages. It's just they're so far behind that the one pick doesn't do much for you at this point, right? You know, they're able to land the Gragas ultimate, the Shockwave, Keith ults in, they get the kill. All these things are happening correctly, but you said it. I mean, Sven is almost unstoppable, right? They have so much more gold on the map, and really, unless you can kill off the Aphelios, you can't win the fight afterwards. Like, look at that. He's 4,400 gold ahead of his opponent. And Keith is the richest person on his team at this point, right? So he's nearly 5,000 gold ahead of most of the players on the opposing team, which is just insane. Like you can add Joey's gold to most of the people on his own team, and he's still behind Sven practically.
It will not equal the enemy AD carry. Holy moly, man. When you put it like that, Sven is just absolutely running this game here on Summoner's Rift. Meanwhile, we have Perks at 0, 1, and 2. He's kind of just been playing PvE the whole game, hitting minions with bubbles, just throwing out a paddle star here and there. It's a good game to be a mid laner, man. Just chilling out and relaxing a little bit here as Cloud9 has 2 inhibitors down. Looking to maybe take that third one. It is already exposed and vulnerable. Cass comes out, but it only finds Alistar, and Joey delivers the enemy initiation right into the back line. Keith at 200 HP. Fudge approaching from the side here with a World Ender. Goodbye, Insanity. Goodbye, Immortals. Hello, Cloud9. Keith trying to continue running away as Blabber chases down Potluck. Keith knows there's nothing left to do.
Perks wants a kill.
Sarcastic emotes. Perks wants to get himself on the board, but it looks like Blabber denies it. GG, well played. 19-4. Cloud9 take the win.
Back-to-back games now. Cloud9 are crushing it. They have come alive in this preseason tournament, really looking good after that first game, and I think this is much more the level people were expecting. People were expecting them to be number 1, number 2, to look dominant, to be clearly above most of the teams in this league. And the games that they've shown us over the last 2 days have shown that those preseason expectations, I think, are coming to fruition. Immortals, there were some good things going on for them. I think both their solo lanes held up actually pretty well. Revenge was winning top lane for pretty much the whole game, it felt like. Insanity was even alongside Perks, but it just didn't matter because Sven and Vulcan decimated Joey and Keith. They got multiple early kills. They set up so well with the Aphelios route into the combo. No way for Keith to actually react to that. Joey wasn't able to disengage the opponents, and they just snowballed that game incredibly effectively. Blabber got really fed, but it felt like it was all about the Cloud9 bot lane to me.
100%. Vulcan was constantly making plays, finding ways to initiate and land that CC onto multiple targets. We spent the whole game talking about Sven. I don't even have to mention how hard he was popping off again. And Blabber, just a couple of mistakes getting caught out from Immortals, but when you weigh that against the things he did right, he really got the team rolling everywhere, just made sure things happened, was constantly on top of the objective control, guaranteed they got that early soul, and Cloud9 is looking good here after 3 games played in the Lock-In tournament. Dash is going to hear from Sven after the break, but not until you subscribe to the new home of LCS content. That's youtube.com/LCS. Get that set up, and we'll see you here after this for the post-game interview.